Clamberjaws are the worst! It's not so much that they're hard, as much as they can just be really, really annoying. Oh yeah, and sometimes they do this. But as the saying goes, there's more than one way to skin a Clamberjaw. So in this video, I'm not going to show you one way to kill the Clamberjaw. I'm going to show you 3 different ways, using completely different strategies and techniques. These are going to demonstrate practical combat tips that you can use to not only take out the Clamberjaw, but anything else that the Forbidden West or the Burning Shores might throw at you. So let's get into it.
I hate every ape I see, from chimpanzee to chimpanzee.
As you probably know by now, combat in Horizon Forbidden West is extremely flexible, and depending on your preference, your playstyle, and just overall creativity, there can be a lot of different ways to kill any given machine. So my goal for this video is to show you 3 different ways to kill the Clamberjaw, using different combinations of legendary and non-legendary weapons and gear, and elements, weapon techniques, and valor surges that could all be used interchangeably and in combination with each other. And all my game footage for this video is taken on very hard difficulty, with weapons, coils, weaves, and armors that you can get in just 1 or 2 playthroughs. First, I'll start by showing you the most efficient method for killing Clamberjaws, which is also going to be the best way to collect the Clamberjaw's tail duster, which is a key upgrade component for many of the different weapons. Next, I'll show you a different method using all purple, non-legendary gear, which will be useful for those pesky mid-game Clamberjaw encounters. And lastly, to mix it up, I'll show you something I call the Knockdown damage over time build, a unique and fun way that I've found to not only deal with the Clamberjaw, but other groups of small and medium-sized machines. But to start, let's talk about what makes the Clamberjaw just so difficult to begin with. And for me, it really comes down to 3 main things. They're agile and they move around a lot, making them really hard to hit, so we need a way to immobilize them.
Machine can't move. I could grapple in for a big hit.
Next, because they're small, they don't really have any obvious or easy to exploit weak points. Now they do have concussion sacks behind their heads, and blaze sacks behind their legs, as well as either sparker or purge water canisters on their back, depending on the variant, but these can be really difficult to target with any sort of consistency. Now if you do decide to just take on the Clamberjaw head on, the best place to aim for is their face.
Lord Lawrence, why are you slapping a monkey?
Not only is this just a larger area to hit, but the resource scanner on their face is pretty easy to remove and is also a weak point on the machine. But in general, I found that it's usually just easier to use a weapon like a bolt blaster or a spike thrower that has a wider area of damage and doesn't require us to be so precise. And third, they're often in groups of 3 or 4 and sometimes have a small entourage of other machines with them, making it really difficult to focus on any given machine without getting hit by another one. Now, combating groups of machines in Horizon Forbidden West can be its own unique challenge, and if you're interested, I made a video that breaks down my favorite techniques and strategies for combating groups of machines, which I'll link in the description below. There are also a couple of nice to have items when it comes to going up against Clamberjaws. Fire defense weaves can be useful since Clamberjaws mostly deal fire damage. And armor skills like low profile and quiet movement are also useful to help sneak around a bit more quietly without alerting nearby Clamberjaws or other machines. To me, the legendary Quen Deadeye is the perfect Clamberjaw killing armor. Not only does it come with +2 low profile and +2 quiet movement skills, but it also comes with 65 defense against fire damage. If you equip 2 15% acid defense weaves, you can basically become immune to fire damage.
You have no power here.
And lastly, smoke bombs are always a good option whenever you're in a bind, and especially when dealing with groups of machines. So I always make sure to have them equipped and at the ready. But note that the resource scanner on the Clamberjaw's face makes them immune to the effect of smoke bombs while the scanner is attached. Now it's easy enough to remove the scanner, and not all Clamberjaws have it to begin with, but that can be kind of a gotcha when going up against Clamberjaws. And as a reminder, if you guys find this video useful, or at least somewhat entertaining, be sure to give it a like. As a small-time content creator, not only does it help me fight the world's real-life most annoying machine, the YouTube algorithm, but it also helps let me know what types of videos you guys want to see going forward. I really appreciate it. Alright, now let's get to our first scenario, the most efficient way to kill the Clamberjaw. If you've seen pretty much any other machine hunting guide out there, my own included, then you're familiar with this method for killing machines because it probably is the easiest, most efficient method out there, no matter the machine type. The basic concept is to first use a rope caster to tie down and immobilize the Clamberjaws and any other nearby machines that might get in the way. Once tied down, you'll want to use a frost weapon to freeze the machine, which is going to help amplify the damage. Now typically you'd want to aim for an armor plate when freezing the machine so you don't deteriorate the tie down state. But because Clamberjaws are so small and don't really have any easy to hit armor plates, I find that sometimes it's easier to just wait and re-tie down the machine after they've gotten up. And now once the machine is tied down and frozen, you can use a high damage weapon to finish them off. Now if you're also on a mission to collect the tail duster, this is the best method to do it, since it's a lot easier to target the tail duster with the machine tied down using a weapon that specializes in tail. In our second scenario, let's look at some non-legendary loadouts we can use. With the non-legendary weapons and gear that you get in the early and mid game, this is when it's most important to try to be a little creative, because you can't rely solely on the weapon itself to deal the majority of the damage. This is when it's most important to experiment with different weapon techniques, elements, and valor surges. But here, our overall strategy for taking down the Clamberjaw is largely going to remain the same. First, we're going to want to immobilize the Clamberjaw, same as before, but to switch it up, this time I'll be using shock.
I don't think so.
Shock is great in this situation because not only is the Apex Clamberjaw weak to shock, but by using a bow like the Lightning Hunter bow, we also get access to advanced Shock Hunter arrows, which are going to help us build up shock more quickly. We could also use a Valor Surge like Elemental Fury. Not only will that help us build up shock more quickly, but it also gives us 100% elemental state duration. Meaning that once the Clamberjaw is in the shock state, they'll be there twice as long, giving us a larger window to deal damage. Now for damage, I like to use a spike thrower, and the Vindicator spike thrower with the explosive spikes is one of the best mid-game weapons for dealing damage. You can use the explosive spikes to deal damage to the machine directly, or pair it with the splitting spike weapon technique, which is also very effective. And another useful Valor Surge here could be the Critical Boost Valor Surge, which is going to increase our chances of dealing extra damage through a critical hit, especially when using a weapon technique like the splitting spike weapon technique. Now in our last scenario, let's look at something I call the Knockdown Damage Over Time build. Now, damage over time isn't really something that the game spends much time talking about, if at all. Essentially, it's damage that's dealt from certain types of ammo like shredders, drill spikes, or stagger beams, or by certain types of elements like acid or fire. It's basically a small amount of damage that continues to be dealt for a short amount of time after the initial impact hit. Now the concept behind this build is simple, but it takes a bit of setup. Essentially, we're going to want to use drill spikes from a spike thrower like the legendary Last Argument spike thrower or the purple Vindicator spike thrower to deal damage over time and trigger knockdowns. And once the machine is knocked down, we'll want to use a high damage weapon, in this case our sharp shot bow, to hopefully make quick work of the Clamberjaw. But the coils that we use for our weapons in this build are going to be really important. For the spike thrower, we'll want to use the Elite Knockdown coil, which increases our knockdown power by 15%, and 2 additional plus 15% knockdown power coils. I'll also be using 2 25% damage over time coils. And for the sharp shot bow, I'll be using Ear of's Downfall coiled with the Elite Critical Hits coil, which is going to increase our likelihood of getting a critical hit, along with critical hit damage, as well as 2 15% critical hit chance coils, and most importantly, 2 25% knockdown damage coils. These knockdown damage coils increase damage dealt to machines once they're knocked down, which should pair really nicely with the drill spikes from our spike thrower. I found that this build works really well against some of the game's more annoying medium-sized machines, not only Clamberjaws, but also Leap Lashers, Longlegs, and Sunwings. And those are 3 different ways to take out Horizon's most formidable, or at least most annoying machines. Did I miss any of your favorites? If so, be sure to let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.